you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, let me think. I was born in 1922, a long time ago, so I'm 94, and I was born in London, England, and when I was about 8, my parents moved us out to just the outskirts of London, almost into the countryside, which was nice. And then when the war began, I guess you're aware that Germany was the bad, yeah. Do you know the name of the leader?
Hitler?
Adolf Hitler, yeah. Well, Adolf Hitler's airplanes, bombers, would come up to bomb London, and they would come right over our house, you see, because we lived just south of London, so they came right over. We were on the flight path, as it was called. So I can well remember many nights we would take cover in there. It was called the cupboard under the stairs, where we kept the brooms and the vacuum cleaner and so on. And we all used, my mum and dad and my sister and brother, we always had to cram into this because it was about the safest parts of the house. And I can remember we used to listen to the bombs falling and getting nearer and nearer, and the house would shake. And sometimes the bomb would bring our ceilings down, and the windows were shattered. And my mum and dad were hurt in the war with cuts and that. But the strangest thing is that I flew over Germany 25 times in that bomber that you saw, Lancaster bomber. And I came through the war without a scratch. You know, I was in the war fighting, and yet my mum and dad were hurt by staying at home. It's one of those strange things about wartime.
Can you tell us what prompted you to serve?
I had to. It was the law.
Oh.
You see, the government brought in a law that all young men and women had to fight in the war. I don't mean women had to fight, but they had to work in the war to defeat Hitler, because we had to. We didn't want to become like slaves to Hitler's Germany. He'd already conquered France and Belgium and Holland and Denmark and Norway and Poland. They were his neighbours, you know, and they hadn't done him any harm, but he wanted to expand, and he was going to conquer them, and he did. And we were next on the list. Little old Britain, little country. Have you seen it on the map? Have you seen Britain on the map? It's it's about that size on the coast, northwest coast of Europe. And we knew we were next in line to be invaded, and we didn't want to. We weren't going to be slaves. So we all were glad to do something to defeat Hitler. Sure.
Can you tell us a memory of during the time of war? Can you tell us a memory?
Well, I can remember the occasion when we were near. I think we were within about that much of being shot down and killed. Yeah, when we were flying over, because our planes were equipped with certain electronic aids to guide the navigator and the bomb aimer in their jobs. Very primitive. It was the early days of electronic things, and very primitive. And this particular navigational gadget was faulty. We didn't know that, you see. So while we were in a force of about 300 bombers going out to bomb a German factory, okay, and while all the other planes went there, were like that way to get to the factory, we didn't know, but we were going this way, you see, because of this faulty navigational equipment. And so we found ourselves all of a sudden over a big German city, all on our own, you see. When now the German anti-aircraft gunners 2 miles below us they had radar screens, so they could see us in there, a little dot on the radar screen moving, so they could aim at us very accurately. And all of a sudden, we didn't know. It was only when we were suddenly surrounded by bomb bursts or shell bursts all around us that we realized that we were in trouble. And I can still smell the cordite of the bombs, you know, the smell of the explosion, and see the flames coming out of the shells. And I really thought then that that was it. I thought we would never get out of that. But our pilot was very quick. He just put our plane into a steep dive, and we got out of their fire. And then we went to the proper target, and we bombed properly and got home properly. But next day we found that a sliver, you know the word, a sliver, a little piece of shell, jagged and red hot. It came right through the side of our aircraft, just missing the pilot's neck. If it had been that way, it would have taken his head off. and went right through our aircraft out the other side and buried itself in one of the engines. And we found that next day, so that we had a very, very narrow escape. And so that was the what I remember of my flying experience. Yes, scary.
How do you feel about the war?
How do I feel about it? Well, I didn't enjoy it. No one enjoys war, but we had to do it. So we just got down and did the job, you know. Just in life, yeah. I mean, you'll find, maybe already you find that you have to do things that you'd rather not do. Huh? Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. So, but you buckle down and do it because you know that you have to and you should. Yeah. So it was the same with us. And we did our job as best we could, did our very best. Each of our crew, we were all friends because we knew we had to rely on each other to do a good job. So we what we call bonded, yeah, into a unit, and we all trusted each other.
Can you tell us what being Canadian means to you?
Well, it means a great deal to me. I was born in Britain, as I say, and I came to Canada during the war for some of my flying training, not to BC, but to Manitoba, Winnipeg. So, and I was in Canada for 10 months, and that was during the war, about 1943, middle of the war. And I loved Canada then. You know, Britain is a very tiny place, and with lots and lots of people all crammed into it, yeah. And I was fascinated by the great expanses of Canada and the great mountains, the Rocky Mountains and the wheat fields and so on. It all made a great impression on me. I was only about 20 or 21 at the time. And so I always, when I got back to Britain to fight in the war against Germany, I always remembered Canada very affectionately. And in 1959, I decided to emigrate, to come to Canada to live, and I became a Canadian citizen. I'm very proud to be a Canadian. So I mean, being a Canadian means a lot to me. You bet.
Are you proud to have served in the war?
Yes, indeed. I don't know what else I can say about that.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your service.
Oh, you're very welcome.